This video will show how to replace an existing Salvajor disposer. New installations will be similar with only a few minor differences. Before you begin, verify that the water and power are shut off to the disposer. Using a 5/16" nut driver, loosen the clamp on the disposer drain outlet. Then, remove the disposer drain line. If there is a 1/2" cold water connection to the disposer top housing, remove that as well. If the water supply line is connected to the cone bowl or sink, it can remain connected. Loosen the support leg set screws with a 5/32" hex key wrench. Using a 1/2" socket or wrench, loosen the top housing assembly's 8 bolts so that the top housing separates from the disposer base. Remove the 2 7/8" bolts holding the support leg to the disposer. Then, remove the support leg. Note, 1 and 2 horsepower models may not be equipped with a support leg. Proceed with removal of the 8 top housing bolts, allowing the disposer base to drop down from the top housing. The disposer base is very heavy, so use caution when removing the final bolts. Using a 5/16" nut driver, loosen the top clamp that holds the top housing to the cone bowl or sink collar. Remove the top housing by twisting and pulling down on the housing. Use a 5/16" nut driver to remove the 2 bolts on the junction box cover on the bottom of the old disposer. If necessary, use a screwdriver to pry the cover off. Disconnect the power and conduit fitting. Be sure to retain these parts. Prepare the new disposer for installation by carefully removing the 8 top housing bolts, making sure to not damage the center gasket. Apply a lubricant, such as dish soap, to the rubber collar on the top housing and the beaded collar on the cone bowl or sink. This will help with installation. Slip the top housing assembly up and onto the beaded collar. Make sure the beaded collar is fully seated in the rubber housing. If needed, rotate the top housing to align the water inlet with the incoming water supply line. Tighten the top clamp so that the top housing assembly cannot be pulled down over the bead. Remove the junction box cover on the bottom of the new disposer base. Wire the disposer using the provided wiring diagram, located either on the junction box cover or in the control panel box. This will depend on the control type, voltage and phase. Reconnect the electrical and conduit fittings. Carefully tuck the wiring inside the disposer and reinstall the junction box cover. Next, reinstall the disposer support leg. Adjust the leg extension so that the disposer will stand approximately a 1/2" below the bottom of the top housing. Place the center gasket on top of the top housing, making sure to align the slots with the ears on the shredder ring. Carefully balancing the disposer on the support leg, walk it under the top housing. Make sure the drain outlet on the disposer will line up with the existing drain line connection. Align the ears on the shredder ring with the locking tabs of the top housing, making sure the center gasket has not moved and is still aligned. Insert the 8 top housing bolts through the holes in the top housing and gasket, then thread into the disposer base. As you tighten the bolts, the disposer base will pull up securely to the top housing. Extend the leg extension securely to the floor and tighten the set screws. Please note, it is important that the leg fit tightly between the disposer and the floor. Reinstall the drain line. The existing drain line should be properly cleaned out before connecting to the main sewer line. If a new drain line is necessary, use as few elbows, T's, and bends as possible when making connections. Be sure all horizontal drain lines have a minimum slope of 1/4 inch per linear foot. Improper drain line installation can result in drain backups. Reconnect the cold water supply if it was disconnected and check for any leaks in the supply line and drain line. For additional questions, contact our service department at 188-725-8256. For notifications on new content, please like and subscribe. Thank you.